"2022 was a year of stability and progress for the city of Rochester. This year, Rochester was recognized as the third best place to live in the U.S., a top city to buy a house in America, and one of the most beautiful cities in Minnesota. City teammates went above and beyond to serve residents, businesses, and visitors of our city while delivering on strategic priorities of affordable living, economic vibrancy, and growth management, as well as continuously improving on quality city services for quality living. We are proud to highlight some of the brightest achievements of 2022.
City of Rochester leadership and teammates focused on emphasizing belonging across our community. These efforts were recognized by Bloomberg Philanthropies in January when it named Rochester one of 15 winning cities across the world in its Global Mayor's Challenge. Along with this recognition, the city received a $1 million grant for its work cultivating equity in the built environment. The city continued partnership with the Just Deeds program, working with community volunteers to identify and name historical racial injustices regarding property ownership in Rochester, and then modernize those documents. In June, the City Council supported issuing municipal identification cards available to residents at no cost, permitting them to use businesses and resources that allow the municipal ID as identification verification. Rochester Civic Music developed new partnerships with school-aged childcare and Spark Children's Museum, and increased its number of youth outreach events to reach nearly twice as many children than in the year prior through its global music series and artists in the school's programs. Rochester Public Library partnered with Family Service Rochester to launch a pilot program which brings a social worker into the library to improve access to social services. The library also began offering LinkedIn learning resources to all cardholders, opening over 17,000 training videos for upskilling and foundational exploration of a variety of subjects. Teammates from across the city engage with our community through a variety of programs and events, such as Welcome Week, Rochester Fest, Hispanic Heritage Month, Juneteenth, Move with the Mayor, Hams for Holidays, Badges and Baseball, Night to Unite, Shop with a Cop, Heroes and Helpers, Skate City Nights, and Safe City Nights.
City of Rochester teammates take pride in providing high-quality service to our community. Completion of our 2022 National Community Survey helped influence our action plan and will guide improvements in the future. In 2022, city teammates and leadership supported access in a variety of ways. For example, the Rochester Public Library shifted its operating hours to provide extended time and access to library resources. City teammates continue to offer top-quality events and programs to the Rochester community. For the first time, Rochester Civic Music partnered with local food vendors at both its Forward Neighborhood Park series and Down by the Riverside concerts. It was also the first year Civic Music partnered with Minnesota Public Radio to host its Bring the Sing community sing-along in Peace Plaza. A key part of serving our residents is planning for the future. In 2022, the Park Board approved the Soldiers Field Park Master Plan, and teammates neared completion of the Silver Lake Master Plan, which should come forward for Park Board consideration in 2023. Both were informed by a strategic collaboration and community engagement strategy. Following community feedback, Parks and Recreation completed a council-initiated review of its municipal golf program. Construction on the Cascade Lake Amphitheater and Lincolnshire Splash Pad moved forward this summer, and both are expected to be open in 2023. The City Council adopted the new Transit Development Plan in December, which will be Rochester Public Transit's guiding document for all aspects of public transit in the city. Transit provided approximately 830,000 rides, which is up 22% over last year. City Council adopted the Sidewalk Improvement District policy in November, providing property owners a more understandable, predictable, and affordable program, where the cost of having a walkable community is distributed among all residents. The program will also accelerate investment into Rochester's accessibility efforts. 2022 was a major year for elections administration. The city clerk's team worked closely with county election staff to plan for primary, special, and general elections. More than 800 election judges were hired, and the polling place count was expanded to 46 locations in Rochester alone.
2022 brought numerous opportunities for Rochester to strengthen its relationship to other organizations in our region and build stronger, more efficient community operations. Rochester Police Department collaborated with other first responders for a large-scale hostile event response training and hosted the Region 18 United States Police Canine Association field trial, bringing police service dogs and handlers from across Minnesota and Wisconsin to Rochester for testing and certification. Rochester Fire Department started hosting the Olmsted County Joint Fire Training Sessions with neighboring departments to improve interoperability and efficiency when large incidents that require mutual aid occur. The city and Olmsted County established a joint shelter work group to better serve persons experiencing homelessness in Rochester. The group recommended changes in the areas of planning and community infrastructure, public policy, and community practice to enhance collective efforts.
In 2022, teammates continued to focus on growth and development and improving the ways our community is served. The city's human resources team evolved significantly, featuring a refocused approach on labor relations, creating organizational development capacity, enhancing parental leave, and successful recruitment in a challenging environment. With the HR evolution came an exceptional teammate engagement survey process, which had unprecedented response rates. The results of the survey are being incorporated into action planning and solution implementation. 2022 also brought the realignment of Rochester's Emergency Management Department. The realignment blends public safety leadership to allow the department to be more efficient in preparing for, responding to, and recovering from disasters. Also this year, Rochester was one of 22 cities chosen to participate in the City Data Alliance, which will provide education and resources to amplify Rochester's ability to use data to improve the ways our local government operates. Teammates focused on improving their ability to serve our community through training and development opportunities, including the launch of a diversity, equity, and inclusion professional development series. For the first time, city teammates gathered to learn about Juneteenth through a day of learning and service. Select teammates are also participating in a high-performance organization academy to grow their capacity to lead. The City of Rochester recognizes high-quality and equitable services require the right people to administer them. In 2022, the Rochester Police Department swore in 16 new officers, nearly half of whom are women and people of color. With a focus on strategic hiring, various departments went into the community to showcase career opportunities within the city. Rochester Fire hosted a first-of-its-kind Women's Fire Expo this year to show women in the Rochester community that firefighting is a rewarding and sustainable career for them. Rochester Fire Department also hosted listening sessions with diverse community leaders to discuss opportunities for careers in firefighting and held the 4th year of its high school firefighter program. City teammates and leadership focused on growth and development through a number of strategic planning initiatives. After adopting its first ever citywide action plan in December of 2021, city teammates provided quarterly progress updates with enhancements underway. 2022 also brought the unanimous City Council adoption of the Unified Development Code, a new zoning ordinance that better positions Rochester for development in the future and removes inequitable development policies.
2022 brought an opportunity to align the city's future growth and development with environmental stewardship. Rochester Public Utilities completed its 10-megawatt West Side solar project that will provide the city with renewable solar energy. Rochester also welcomed its first 2 electric buses to the Rochester Public Transit fleet. The city's Environmental Services Water Resources team implemented multiple projects this year that will improve stormwater drainage within streets, boulevards, and residential properties while advancing water quality treatment within Rochester's existing stormwater treatment facilities. The water reclamation plant saw a variety of upgrades this year, including updates to its outdated and inefficient administration building, paint shop, maintenance shop, electronics shop, and laboratory. The new design incorporated many energy-saving concepts while repurposing existing space. In September, City Council adopted the greenhouse gas emissions reductions goals for Rochester, which are a citywide target to reduce emissions via power generation and supply, buildings, transportation, water, and waste.
City of Rochester teammates continue work to sustain our community's vital infrastructure while planning for the future. Public Works crews made noticeable improvements to the streets of Rochester this year, including laying over 28,000 tons of blacktop, chip sealing nearly 75 lanes of roadway, and pouring more than 700 yards of concrete for curb repairs. The Elton Hills Drive Bridge reconstruction was completed this year, and the new bridge is expected to last for 75 to 100 years. Teammates also celebrated the completion of Phase 1 of the 65th Street Northwest reconstruction project. The project provides much-needed safety and accessibility upgrades as development transitions the area from a rural road surrounded by farm fields to a city street serving residential areas and the new Dakota Middle School. Public Works teammates completed the downtown sidewalk experience enhancement. The project replaced outdated brick inlays with new concrete, updated the pedestrian ramps to current accessibility standards, and enhanced the pedestrian experience by adding benches and plantings, all while maintaining access to downtown businesses. RPU completed a major overhaul of the Cascade Creek 1 combustion turbine this year. Now the unit will continue to offer reliable, valuable capacity to the city on its hottest days. The city secured a variety of funding and legislative approvals for future infrastructure projects this year, including the 6th Street Bridge, Soldiers Field Park improvements, and continued work on the airport runway safety improvement project. The City Council approved a request to renew Rochester's local option sales tax focused on flood control, economic vitality, streets, and a regional sports and recreation complex. This will be a primary focus for the 2023 legislative session.
Thank you to our elected leaders for their vision, commitment to community, and good governance throughout 2022. Without your bold leadership, none of these major projects and transformative achievements would have been possible.
2022 brought a lot of hellos as well as goodbyes. The City of Rochester said thank you to 30 teammates who retired after providing a combined 836 years of service to the Rochester community.
As we close 2022, City of Rochester leadership and teammates look forward to another standout year in 2023. Thank you to our residents, businesses, and visitors. It is because of you that we do this important work. Here's to moving forward together.
We're going to start today, because of some timing of some things, with our illustrious City Administrator, Allison Zounds. She's been with us for several years now, provides great leadership, and she's going to tell you a little bit about her perspective on 2023. Allison, welcome.
I'm not sure if I've ever been described as illustrious, but now I have. So there's a first time for everything, and it's good to have that happen in January. Really grateful that the video played first, and you can see everything that all of our teammates accomplished. And the city administrator does work really closely with the mayor and the city council. And while I may lead the organization on day-to-day operations, really what that is about guiding and supporting our teammates and making sure that they have what they need in order to accomplish everything that you saw up on the video today. I really can't do my best work unless they're doing their best work. And so something that's very important to me as a leader in the organization is to really be focused on that continuous improvement that you heard about, and we're doing that through high performance organizational model. So we still have all of our traditional hierarchy and how the city is designed with our departments and working together in our traditional organizational structure. But day to day, what we're really trying to do is practice collaboration across our organization. And that might seem like a really simple thing, but it actually takes a lot of practice, and it takes setting up some processes and some different ways of thinking, because it isn't really a change to the organizational structure, it's a shift in the mindset of all of our teammates and thinking about their work in a way that focuses on people and relationships, and a continuous shift in culture where people can thrive in their work. And when they're thriving in their work across the organization, they can deliver the best services to you out in the community in a way that has your best interest at heart, focuses on that continuous improvement of engagement and understanding what the community is really looking for, understanding the changes that are happening across our community in different areas, and making sure that we continue to be prepared for what's next in the city of Rochester. So we do that really by focusing on relationships, and something small that I brought to the organization is really restructuring how we think about our day-to-day work, as I mentioned. So we have a forward team, and that is what you might consider your executive leadership team, and I am very fortunate that I have 5 teammates that agreed to be part of that, and they lead some impact teams. So the forward team is Michael Spindler-Craig, the city attorney. He's leading our public safety impact team, and that impact team is our, you might be surprised, or you might already have figured it out, our emergency management department, our fire department, police department, and our DEI director, and the work across our organization. They get together regularly and talk about their work together. So that's the practice of communication and relationship building and understanding the struggles and opportunities that each area faces, and helping each other and reaching across to be able to do our work better, not just in our department, but across the organization. We have Cindy Steinhauser, Deputy City Administrator for Community Development and Public Works. So that is our Development Services and Infrastructure team, and making sure that when we think about development, we're also thinking about the infrastructure under the ground that you don't always think about, but that is a major part of our work. We have the Community Enrichment team, and that's led by Paul Widman, the Parks Director, and that's our civic, music, parks, and library teammates. So they have a similar impact across the organization and different needs. We have our high performance government team, which is all of those internal support groups that we need in order to be excellent teammates. So HR, IT, our legislative group is part of that. Welcome, legislators. And then we also have our city clerk's office there. We have our public service team, and that is Mark Kochevar. I should mention that our high performance government team is led by Aaron Parrish, Deputy City Administrator. Our public service team is led by Mark Kochevar, as I mentioned, and that is quite a large operation in the city. RPU, which is our water and electric utility. And then we have some focused impact teams, and that is trying to make sure that we do our work consistently in the area of community engagement, diversity, equity, inclusion. So we have 2 key teammates there, but we have a lot of folks across the organization that have a lot of skills and talents, and so they get together and talk about that work. And then every month our leadership forum gets together, which is a team of people, but we're trying to do that in a forum where folks have a better understanding of what's happening across the organization. So what you saw in the video is being delivered in that way, where we can continue to improve, not just by adding different people and resources, but by reaching across the existing organization to understand how we can work together to deliver those improvements in a way that is cost effective. So with that, I will turn it over to the also illustrious Council President, Brooke Carlson, to share how she's seen that in action in her role on the City Council.
Thank you, Allison. What a delight to see so many of my favorite people all in the room together. So thank you for having me today, Mayor. Allison, it is really remarkable to reflect on the changes within the organization and the culture and practice since you've stepped into your role as City Administrator and committed our city to being a high-performance organization. We're so fortunate to have your leadership alongside the incredibly talented, committed staff of the organization at the city. As someone who's built a career promoting external collaboration across sectors, it is an honor to be part of critical conversations with our partners at the county, the Rochester Public Schools, and so many of you sitting around this room. Administrator Zones and County Administrator Welsh, who we'll be hearing from shortly, works hand in hand with Superintendent Piquel and many partners from our nonprofit and private sectors. And I'm so grateful as they address some of the most important challenges of our times, whether it be housing, homelessness, juvenile justice, or countless other issues, that they put the community's shared values above and beyond their own interests. Well, I clearly saw the potential before I started on council for external collaboration. I didn't fully appreciate the opportunity to enhance collaboration and communication within the city of Rochester. I hear examples every day of how our new internal structure has broken down silos to increase efficiency and effectiveness in fulfilling our city's vision and our council's strategic priorities of affordable living, quality services for quality living, and economic vibrancy and growth management. Last year, the city established our High Performance Organization Academy, and the Academy focuses on growing capacity of staff embedded across the organization to lead by developing skills to communicate, collaborate, network, and create meaningful change at any level. Council heard from several participants who described how their involvement increased connections internally, which will result in providing better services for our community. Our city teammates are both one of the greatest investments as well as essential resources to deliver on our city vision through the day-to-day services they provide. When we continue to develop leadership skills and a growth mindset across our people resources, we maximize the ability for our community to have positive experiences, whether it is with customer service at our PU, an emergency response from the police or fire departments, or a neighborhood concert experience with civic music at a park well loved by our Parks and Rec department. Speaking of Parks and Rec, I know Soldiers Field is a hot topic for many. If you're passionate about honoring veterans, historic preservation, aquatics, golf, ice skating, accessible playgrounds, or outdoor events, this community gem likely means something to you. Our Parks and Rec Director, Paul Widman, is he here? Shared how the new internal leadership structure established under Administrator Zoms created the perfect space for difficult but productive dialogue to ensure that the new Soldiers Field plan reflected interests of our city and our richly diverse community, but did so in a way that is feasible based on the resources available to us. In particular, the internal collaboration between Parks and Rec and community engagement significantly deepened our approach to ensuring diverse perspectives contributed to the redesign of this central community park. Our team conducted the most extensive community engagement effort to date for any Parks and Rec project and included a community co-design process for the highly anticipated aquatics feature. This community co-design process is now a gold standard for authentic community engagement from voices who have historically been excluded from places of decision-making and power. The Parks Board and Council will learn more about their final recommendations this month and look forward to making this plan a reality. These investments in our staff and learning from our community are examples of how we try to align the day-to-day work with our vision and our strategic priorities. Our mindset centers around balancing and advancing growth, development and innovation, investing in our future through infrastructure, economic development, and service delivery, strengthening our region, not just our city, and focusing on advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as belonging for our staff and community we serve. By emphasizing both stability and progress in our work, we position ourselves for transformational change aligned with community needs and desires while remaining good stewards of our tax dollars. With that, I'm pleased to welcome Mayor Norton to share more about the exciting progress we are making in these areas.
Thank you so much to both of you for sharing those thoughts, and I hope all of you learned a little bit about the internal workings of our city, which I think people don't often hear about. So again, thanks to Allison and Brooke for being here. I feel honored to be mayor of such a remarkable city. And I've always felt that Rochester's appeal, besides having a strong economy and the best medical facility in the country and world, was its people. Generations of people who put their roots down in this soil, Native people first and then pioneers, hardy people who respect and cherish the land and all the bounty it offers, and folks who have learned to manage the chilly weather with spunk and layers and down. Rochester was home to folks who pitched in and rebuilt after disasters, caring people who assisted neighbors in difficult times, be it tornado or flood or pandemic. And the legacy that wrought is a community rich with people who seek to help and heal others. We became a destination for talented and innovative people who came to learn from those early helpers and healers to create cures and develop new treatments. Compassionate people who provide care through religion, services, and supports for those who made this place their home. And we drew both healthcare workers and patients from around the world to make Rochester a global destination and an international city. That legacy created our reputation as a city of hope and health and innovation and compassion, a reputation I think we all take pride in. I know I do. As far as I can tell, there was never a year without growth in Rochester. Sometimes we've had a trickle of new residents, and other times great leaps in population. We are currently in the need of homes for those who desire our high quality of life, abundant jobs, and our great education system. And we need them at all price points, with particular focus on those of lower income and our seniors. Our partnerships with the county in this area have grown, and I anticipate a strong year working on addressing homelessness, building those much needed homes, looking at our own properties, and finding ways to collaborate and partner for outcomes that benefit the community broadly. I am pleased with the growing bond that's developed with our partners at the county. And I thank Commissioner Tyne, who I don't believe is here today, for his involvement and dedication this past year. I look forward to continuing the tri-government leader meetings that Council President Carlson, Chair Nathan, and Chair Wright will be part of in 2023, and also want to thank Chair Marvin for her investment this past year too. It is my hope that future development in our city will include design and building for sustainability. That could mean zero or reduced waste construction sites that support the environment, and that we build with the future in mind, which might include car chargers, tankless water heaters, solar-ready roofs, geothermal heating and cooling, green roofs, and more. The city continues to work to improve processes and has made an important change by recently approving the UDC, the Unified Development Code, which you heard about earlier. That took effect on January 1st, 2023. This should help make development more predictable and less cumbersome, and we're really anxious to see it roll out. As I consider Rochester, I see a community that values its diversity, and we will continue to grapple with how to make our community fair and equitable to all who come here. The city's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion will continue to play itself out through policy and practice. We have hired a year ago our diversity director to oversee our work and help create a culture that will outlive us. Please do join me right back here at the Mayo Civic Center next Monday morning as we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day with the Chamber of Commerce and the NAACP. A high quality of life isn't something we strive for like so many other communities, because it's something we have and we must work to maintain it. Investments in parks, green space, education, safety, infrastructure to support our community is vital. We talk about being a city for health, and there's more we can do, including some things that have already been mentioned this morning. There will likely be the start and finish of some construction in your favorite neighborhood or regional parks, and this could include changes to where events might occur in the coming year. So keep your eye out for notices about where your favorite Rochester activities this spring and summer might occur, as water parks, splash pads, and other amenities are added across the city. While healthcare and related industry are the backbone of our city, they are far from the only important industry. Our strong technology base that got its start with IBM has spread its influence throughout all we do in this community. And we would do well to continue to seek to grow and build synergy there. We already have begun that through partnerships with our education sectors and industry. There are many great examples at each of our institutions, whether it be K-12, out at RCTC, Winona State University, or the University of Minnesota Rochester. New models of education, such as the one at our innovative Rochester campus at the University of Minnesota, and what a great example, UMR's Next Gen program is providing a world-class college education on a shorter timeline, driving down student costs while increasing student success. And they're doing this with Google and other industry partners. And we should be shouting the news from the rooftops that our very own UMR has successfully closed the gap on educational outcomes between students of color and white students. A model I hope can be replicated throughout the city, state, and nation. Congratulations to them. Absolutely. Innovative plans at WSU and Grauk is actually working on this, include seeking partners and resources for a simulation lab. And RCTC is an active and willing partner on training our diverse workforce every single day. And have just rolled out an exciting new aviation program. Anxious to hear how that goes. And we'll hear comments from our K-12 partners soon, with Rochester Public Schools having a voice here, of course. Recognizing and celebrating our excellent education systems and highly educated workforce will help draw businesses and residents to this community, and we all have a role to play in sharing that message. Maintaining a strong business sector, including our foundational healthcare and visitor support structure, is essential. Downtown Rochester, like many downtowns, is uniquely important to the life and vitality of our city. It is our central gathering place. It is where we find the greatest number of special events and unique activities. It is home to a diverse and locally grown restaurant and retail scene. It is home to more than 2,000 residents, that may surprise some of you, and the place for employment for over 35,000 workers. And it's the destination for millions of visitors each year. A vital downtown contributes to a community's brand, its sense of identity, and of course its tax base. Like many city centers across the country and world, Rochester has suffered because of the pandemic. Recovery has been slow, certainly slower than we'd like, due to the dramatic changes in workforce, travel behaviors, and shopping patterns. I have been heartened by how our business community responded during this difficult time. The innovation that we're known for was demonstrated time and again as businesses pivoted and adapted to manage the change. They took risks, tried new hours of operations, tested new concepts, developed new products, and created new ways to reach their markets. While many parts of our downtown have begun to experience a rebound in business activity, and we've seen many new businesses open up with more on the horizon, we know that this is not true for every business. I firmly believe that an innovative spirit will continue to help as this new environment unveils itself. That can-do attitude and creative response will help us find ways to adapt, and we want to stand with you to help. Like so many of the challenges before us, this one will be best addressed through partnerships and collaboration. No one organization or business can tackle the challenges. No government can either. And I am pleased to report that a group of organizations that came together at the onset of the pandemic to create something called Rochester Ready, which included DMC, the Rochester Downtown Association, Ready, the Chamber, Experience Rochester, the City, Mayo, the Diversity Council, and other nonprofits. Well, it's a big group. They have agreed to work collaboratively with downtown businesses, property owners, residents, and other stakeholders to develop a recovery action plan. While early in its evolution, and an aim still yet to be determined, the sprint to develop a plan will roll out in the coming weeks. While I have asked Experience Rochester and DMC to convene the process, and not just I haven't asked, we have asked, I will be personally involved and committed to see this process through. I know we have a very willing and capable downtown community. By tapping into its energy and ideas and the capabilities of professional organizations, I believe we can accelerate downtown's recovery as we continue to make Rochester the envy of cities across this state. And the recent exciting announcement by Mayo Clinic of the Bold Forward Unbound Digital Health Team Initiative is a great start. We have always taken pride in a talented, highly educated workforce. And now Rochester is seeing a 1.6% unemployment rate. That is remarkable. This may be a challenge for employers, but employees have choices and opportunities abound. The current numbers are not yet available, but we have seen a pattern regarding our business development. In 2019, pre-pandemic, we had 200 new business starts and 169 closures. In 2020, we saw 165 starts and 148 closures. Net gains of business in both of those years. In 2021, there's a record of 159 new businesses filed with the state. We do not have the closures rates yet, as there's a very long drag time on getting this information, but it's safe to say that there is churn. There's always churn. There's more churn during the pandemic. But we've always trended in a positive growth. We can see that starts were somewhat depressed in this post-pandemic environment, but the news is heartening and it really does bode well for our community. And speaking of workforce, we announced last year, as you saw before, the winning of the $1 million from the Global Mayor's Challenge. I'm happy to announce that the first of the 3 years of funding has been received, and we are in the process of hiring a project manager to get this effort underway. It will be exciting to see this project develop, and the partnerships are already underway with Workforce Development, the Girl Scouts, and others. And it's worth noting that the successful co-design process that I think several people have already mentioned that worked so well for this project continues to be used for initiatives such as home ownership and a new sustainability project on resiliency hubs, as well as was mentioned on Soldiers Field design. You will see a continued commitment to making certain that all voices are at the table and that multiple avenues for input are used. And the Mayor's Office, along with the talented and committed members of our City Council, our staff, are partnering with Collider, Cradle to Career, and READY on the National League of Cities Inclusive Entrepreneurship Initiative. And that will support these agreed upon projects by providing seed funding and other support from the National League of Cities and their partners, and in addition, funding from the Mayor's Office to help their work. I'm very excited about that. Our commitment and focus for 2023 will be to provide information, support, and training to every resident interested in starting and growing a business, as well as assuring that we have quality childcare capacities that we all know we need, in addition to culturally responsive childcare to support our diverse workforce. As I think about where we're going and talk to the people who live here, especially the young people, I sense a deep commitment to environmental awareness and stewardship. One change that is coming is a stretch or modification of our current Energy Commission, transitioning to a Sustainability Commission with a broader focus. We will not be losing the energy component, however, but we are going to fulfill the City Council-supported goals and vision that a year-long community task force formulated and developed. Additionally, and despite the lack of passage of legislation last year, we've begun to move to add geothermal energy to the city and seek future plans and funding for a modified version of district energy. While we've discussed the post-pandemic concerns of our city center, our community is much more than that. We must continue to be a magnet for hardy, caring, talented, and compassionate people, and for new business and industry. Change and growth is inevitable, and as mentioned before, it's always been part of Rochester's pattern and history. To be successful, we must look to the future with a positive attitude and the determination of those that came before us. This city has a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion in all its forms, not just on boards and commissions or in our community engagement efforts, but in our vision and our city culture. Thank you to the work of our DEI director, our administration, our top-notch staff, and our city council for your commitment to doing more than just talk, but for putting that talk into action in so many different ways. I do want to touch on a concerning trend. The instability that has rocked our country and political world has sadly worked its way into our community in a more visible way recently, one I fear that is having a negative impact on residents and businesses. And let me state the obvious. It is not helpful to this community to post negativity about our community or its elected leaders or its staff on Facebook and social media, particularly on the mayor and city sites where visitors and potential investors might go. The recent comments about our wonderfully vibrant immigrant community on an International Day of Celebration was repugnant, and it was seen by members of that community, and it was heartbreaking. It is also not helpful to post crises or urgent complaints on social media. I've personally witnessed delays in needed response when someone shared the issue on social media, rather than calling the concern into the police department or other relevant department in our city. It also encourages a really unhelpful piling on effect, and too often has misrepresented the actual situation. To some who post untruths or only amplify the negativity, you aren't hurting me or the city council or our administration, but you are hurting our community and making success and recovery more difficult by spreading uncalled for fears, untruths, and lies. I would ask that we stop finding stones to throw and instead bring bricks to build and cement to bind together a strong and bright future that we are trying to build with our partnerships in this room today. It takes all of our efforts and our resources, as it always has, to build a community that we want to call home. We need to address this, and I'm asking for the entire community to help in any way you can. Address it through your workplace, your religious institution, and in your home. I've already reached out to a few of you to ask for you to work with me to find constructive ways to address, and I'm going to use a medical analogy, this disease and stop it from spreading in this wonderful community. Whether it be social media or public displays that go beyond civil discourse, it is the community that sets acceptable norms. And together, we can tamp it down. There's never been a perfect time in this community, much as we always like to talk about the good old days. But all communities, like all communities, we have had our celebrations and we've had our struggles. And we each need to continue to create, with each new generation, each new innovation, each new challenge, the community that we desire. If you have a concern or find a problem, and there will always be concerns and problems, email or call the responsible department, or as what most people do, the mayor's office. To help with these issues, the city has joined the Data Alliance, a Johns Hopkins GovX program. And for 2022 and 23, this is going to help us utilize data and input to help us make informed decisions and improve processes and functioning. We're going to continue to work toward implementing a 311 system for concerns and reports relevant to the city so they can be responded to quickly and tracked for completion. Our current website-based system, and if you haven't ever seen it, check it out on our website, is already available, but moving to a phone app and 311 call system will be a game changer. I want to touch quickly on a huge quality of life issue, and that's public safety. I want to thank our police department for their work every single day, but especially for the continued commitment and flexibility in the recent years we've just been through. They face crisis every single day, and I know Chief Franklin and the administration are committed to providing health and safety implementation programs to support our officers, Salt and Light being one of them. We do and will ask a lot of our police department, but they continue to strive for excellence and continuous improvement, and they are appreciated. Our department has worked with their state and federal partners to clamp down on drug sales and address that fentanyl crisis that we hear so much about, and the crime associated with it, especially gun-related. And we've had some excellent results, and you've noted those in the paper. I wish we were immune to this national problem affecting cities large and small, but we're not. We'll bring our data collection skills to bear on the issue we face in the coming year, and I think that that will help shed some light on our concerns. But we have a safe city. It's safe by the numbers, safe by comparison, and I would say safe by experience. And I'm just going to quickly mention our legislative agenda. It was kind of touched on before. We do spend quite a bit of time with our federal elected officials. I'll be going to the U.S. Conference of Mayors conference on Monday, and I will be going a day early so that I can do some advocacy for our projects. We've been very successful in the last few years bringing those tax dollars back to our community, and we have a few projects that we're going to be asking for their support this week or next week. And also our state legislators. We have very important bonding projects. We have our local option sales tax renewal, and these are going to help us meet our goals, to address our growth, and tackle big projects by bringing tax dollars that we give into the state and we give into the federal government. We're going to bring them back home. So you'll be hearing from us. Morning. I'm going to close, yeah, surprise. I'm going to close by sharing my appreciation for your interest and commitment to our community. I ask for your continued partnerships because that's what it's going to take. And as I look around this room, I see those partners and friends who are here and they support this community every day, and it matters. You help make Rochester one of the best places to live in the country. We have a wonderful city to be proud of, and our journey in 2023 will be bright. I want to introduce and thank our county administrator, Heidi Welsh. Ask her to come to the podium, and then we're going to hear from our county and our school district. Thank you so much. I'll be back up to give you a big thanks and hug later.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for affording us the opportunity to just comment on how lucky, how fortunate we feel as a county to have the partners that we have in the city of Rochester. Just, I guess Brooke disappeared. Where did she go? She had a meeting. All right, but we had the mayor, just these three folks that we've already heard from. The mayor, Brooke Carlson, and Allison Zelms. We thank you for the incredible, I mean, it's been a change over the past, 5 or 6 years. We've seen a really positive change. I feel so good about the work we're doing together. A couple of you noted the homelessness work, which the community will hear more about that joint effort that's going on. But you hear the big projects and you don't always hear about the little ones, that there are a lot of them. I think about even tiny things like we're working on what do we do with woody waste? I don't know if Allison's even heard the end of this. It's a fantastic little pilot project that the city and county staff are working together to find a way to use the trees that have been cut down in the city, turn them into a biochar kind of mix that then, this is, some of you maybe have more chemistry background, but it was amazing to me. Then it's like having a carbon filter that you put in the water and it takes the pollutants out. So anyway, that's just a tiny one, but we're doing a ton of things together, and I thank you so much for your leadership. In terms of the county, two things that I want to introduce before I turn it over to our board chair. One, lots of change at the county board level. Of course, we have 4 new fantastic members of the board, and 2 of them, Commissioner Rossman and Commissioner Pedelke-Smith, are here with us, and they are bright stars, and so grateful and excited about where the board is going. So, let's give them a little thank you. And second, and along with the fact that we have a big change in our board, is that the county is doing strategic planning. It's a little overdue, but we thought it made sense to wait for this new board. Many of you probably have heard from someone at the county. We're reaching out to all of our partners because it's important that we hear from all of you about what should be part of that strategic plan for the county. So if you haven't heard from us yet, we'll be knocking. So I thank you, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to our board chair this year, Commissioner Greg Wright, who is going to speak to some of our high priority projects at the county this year.
Thank you, Heidi. I appreciate that. And thank you, Mayor Narton, for the invitation. Quite an auspicious group here this morning. And welcome to our legislators, our city council people, and also the county works with the townships and the small cities throughout the county. And I think that you've heard a lot about collaboration, but I rather think of government and what we do with the people as interdependence. The state cannot do their job without the counties, and the counties cannot do their job without the help from the state. And that's an interdependency model that's really important. So working together for all of those things helps the quality of life. The counties also are interdependent upon the townships, and the townships are interdependent upon what we can do with them. So it is a process of working together. And the better that we work together, the better it is for the people who live in the county. And we appreciate that. Development, which you've heard a lot about this morning, depends upon several things. And attracting those people that want to bring their businesses to Rochester, and including the businesses that would require the high level of education, but also businesses that will bring work for some of the people that the county has clients for. And those are jobs like would replace the loss of Seneca. those jobs that will require a high school education or maybe just a little bit of college education. And that provides something for all of the people in the county. And I think that it's important that we work on that. I see John Wade over there and he's shaking his head. That I've talked to him about that before. Because when we lift everybody up, everybody benefits from that. So everybody has to have a place to go to work. Everybody has to have a place to put food on the table. And that's the kind of development that I'm hoping that we work for in the future, to include all the people. But those businesses that come to Olmsted County also now look for amenities. They want to have something for their employees. And those amenities include the things that we've talked about, the parks, but they also talk about things like what the county provides, which is Graham Park, and developing of Graham Park into more of an urban and regional environment that is that the people of the county can enjoy, have festivals and have things that are going on every weekend. Requires a little bit of money to change those things, but we are in that process of changing from a more rural community, as you know, with our population, to a more urban county. And it requires those kinds of things that we look at to make those changes. And it also, businesses are looking for governments that are forward thinking. We're not just caretakers of a stasis government. We are forward looking. And you know that if you have worked with a county, that we look down the road just like the city does to create a legacy, not just for today, but for 40, 50, and 100 years ahead. And we have to do that in order to keep growing. So with that, let me just run down some of the things that the county will be involved in and are currently involved in. So one of those things, of course, I talk about interdependency, and that is the bonding issues that we have taken forward to the state legislature. And you know, the interesting thing about bonding is that we asked for those things 2 years ago, and we planned for those things 2 and 3 years ago. And one of those is the material recovery facility. All right, now I know I'm trying to make this as exciting as I possibly can. So just think of trash talk. So the idea, of course, is that the amount of trash and refuse continues to grow as the county grows, and we have to do something with that. We don't want to leave it on your street or in your alleys. We have to do something with that, and that is our Olmsted Waste to Energy plant, which is a green energy producer. And it depends upon us collecting that trash. But we can do a better job with that if we have a facility that can sort the trash. And we can sort out the recyclables, which then we can sell. And we can sort out the other materials, eventually probably sorting out the organics from that and doing something with the organics, which will also create revenues. And then we only have to dispose of what's left over, which saves you and us a great deal of money, because unlike other counties, we do not bury that trash. We do not create methane from that buried trash. And we take care of that. And we now have a pilot project where we're using the ash that we used to bury, but now we can dig up that ash and we can use it in road beds. We receive that. We have a pilot project going on about that. So the amount of trash that we have continues to be reduced, and that requires the funding for our materials recovery facilities. 3 years ago or 4 years ago, when we estimated the cost of that, it was $25 million. The latest estimate is now $34 million. So the power of inflation has hit upon us like it have other communities. And our bonding request for that is $10 million, and we're hoping that the people that work with bonding understand that there was some inflation in there since the last time we asked for that. and hopefully that will be improved. But the other bonding requests are for the intersection at 14 and 44, which you are familiar with, which was closed recently, and then for our Graham Park. Let's look at some of the other things. Traffic and transportation. You know that we're working on 60th Avenue Northwest, and that was started last year, but it will probably be finished by fall. And 60th Avenue is important because if you travel on Circle Drive West, by the way, which was a county road, which the county built with their money, just wanted to point that out. That west side of Circle Drive has too much traffic. It has reached its maximum level of traffic and actually superseded it. And now that we've closed the intersection at 14 and 14, more cars are driven to that intersection. And it's just over capacity, and so for safety reasons and for moving commerce and moving people, 60th Avenue will be that next circle so that we can get the truck traffic and stuff off of there. So that's the beginning of that process. And that's one of the things that, and by the way, that was on the map 40 years ago, in case you're wondering, and that's our wonderful ROCOG that works with that, with the city, the county, and the small cities that plan those routes. All right, in addition to that, we are improving County Road 4, which is the one that goes to Oxbow Park, Valley High Drive, and that's part of that 60th Street. So I'll talk about Valley High Drive in just a little bit. So the other things that I wanted to talk to you about is that you know that last year that we completed the study on race and racism in public health, and you know it was pretty obvious after the COVID experience of the different communities and the services that they got and the health that they got, that there were gaps, and we don't want those gaps. You know, the only way to protect public health is to make sure that everybody's healthy. All right? So, oh, quit pointing at your watch. I have a whole bunch of things to say. All right. So, yeah, so the mayor is giving me the hook, you know. But, you know, the thing is that I have all of these things that the county has been doing that you haven't heard about. So I will quickly run through those. Okay. So there were 42 recommendations that came out of the race and racism study, and what we're doing is we're dividing those up into advisory groups and community groups and studying those and seeing which ones are short-term, which ones are long-term, and which ones can be implemented now and which ones will be implemented later. Housing, we provided $10 million to the Housing Coalition in Olmsted County and Rochester, and we have our own representatives that will work on that to improve the housing. We also bought the 105 building, which is for transitional housing to help the homeless so that they can move from their homeless state to a transitional, learn how to keep their finances together to afford their own home and then move into a permanent environment. And the county will also look at some new ideas of how we might increase the housing stock in Rochester, which includes helping the elderly, low income stay in their home and make their home safe. Parks. One of the amenities that we talk about is parks. You've heard about the city parks, but the county has other parks, and of course they have a little bit different purpose for their parks, and one of those is Oxbow Nature Center. Oxbow Nature Center, which we put $7 million into that to build a new nature center, which should be open in this spring, is the most visited venue in Olmsted County. And then that also includes the county doing open space planning, and open space planning will eventually identify recreational corridors, such as along the rivers, and so that people will be available for those things in the future. Community corrections. We're working with our partners and with the state on improving juvenile justice, and we realize that that's one of those interdependence things, because not just one entity can take care of juvenile justice, and we work with the school district, the city, as well as with our legislative partners to look at things that we can improve around the state to have facilities for those juveniles who need a little bit more help. All right, soil health. You know, sometimes you think, geez Louise, we don't ever think of these things, but you know that in the United States we're losing more topsoil than we are than the soil is able to make. Well, if we want to sustain the future, we have to eat in the future, and that means that we have to take care of our soil and water, and we have to reduce the amount of nitrates. So we have several innovative programs that we're working on within the county to work with the farmers in order to improve that soil health while reducing the nitrates. We will have a climate mitigation study that is going to be started so that we can keep our green future. And we will be planning for our energy park and what we will be able to do with that and how that will expand services at Homestead Waste Energy. We will be constructing a new law enforcement training center so that we can keep our sheriff department and the deputies up to speed. And you know that we have started innovative programs to work with community people so that we can keep people out of jails. All right, it's very expensive to go into the justice system, but we realize that there are many things that we can do to keep them out of the jail and intervene very early on. So we have our folks, our social workers that ride along with the RPD as well as with the Sheriff's Department to make that intervention. We continue to appreciate and to work with our many community partners. We couldn't do it without them. We're interdependent upon them. And we're going to improve and increase our community involvement because we're looking for ways that we can bring the larger community into the process of government and into the process of suggesting how we can do things better. And as far as workforce, we're working with maintaining our workforce, increasing our diversity, and we realize that right now with the low unemployment rate, it's very difficult to get workers, to find workers or to have them move into Rochester. So we've started a program to grow our own workforce by working with high school students in what we call our Career Academy. We started that last year. We're hoping that that will grow. So it'll be a good look at what they can do in county government for workforce. I do appreciate that. Thank you very much for allowing me a little bit more time.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Will Ruffin II, and I humbly serve as the Executive Director of Equity and Engagement for Rochester Public Schools. I understand that many of you are probably hoping to hear from Superintendent Piquel today, but like Mayor Nord said, he unfortunately couldn't be here. Him and other members of our school board are attending the Reimagining Leadership Conference in Minneapolis put on by the Minnesota School Boards Association. So you're stuck with me today. A couple of years ago, our world was shocked by the coronavirus. There was a sense of uncertainty that swept through Rochester and across our world. It was when such uncertainty hits, the thing that brings people through such a situation is banding together and hope. Rochester Public Schools wants to play its part in restoring that hope for our students and our families. But we can't do that alone. We, as in the city of Rochester, need to do this together. And I've said this many times before, and I want to say this in front of you all today, that this is the most hopeful I've ever felt as far as the direction of Rochester Public Schools. We have a leader who is committed to banding our staff together to do what's right for our students and for our families and give them the resources that they need in order to be successful. His infectious commitment and leadership has formed us with the goal of being the school district of choice for the families in southern Minnesota. Now you may be thinking, that sounds great, but how are you going to do that? Well, the short answer is by following the new strategic plan that our superintendent has laid out before us. This is what I want to briefly update you on today. So now keep in mind, this is a multi-year strategy, so we understand that things won't happen overnight. But if we can band together and stick to the plan and work through some of the tough moments, like Rochester did during the COVID-19 pandemic, we will begin to restore that sense of hope and normalcy that many of our students have longed for. With that, our strategic plan can be broken down into 5 layers. These 5 layers have multiple components within each layer. So for a visual, if you think of stacking building blocks or Legos on top of each other. The first layer calls for us to focus on the education of our students. We want to transform education into an even better experience for all of our students. To do this, we will ensure that every student has regular opportunities to engage in deeper learning experiences so that they can master the important skills and knowledge, so that they can form a personal connection to the subjects that they're studying, so that they can create or do something that matters to them. The second layer calls for us to strengthen our support systems. We will design a multi-tiered systems of support to provide all students with access to a rigorous core curriculum and to give students who struggle the additional resources that they need to succeed. We also want to improve our mental health services for students and staff. We're going to do this by screening for those who need support and then expanding our options for treatment. The third layer of our plan focuses on creating community. To create community, we want to enhance belonging and behavior so that all students feel accepted and safe while they're at school. We plan on authentically engaging families to help parents and caregivers support students' academic, social, and emotional development. The first step is for all of you to consider filling out that brief survey that we sent out yesterday. That will be helpful. But the last component of creating community involves you all, and it calls for the implementation of our strategic partnerships. If we can do this, it will not only enable RPS to achieve our objectives, but it will also help advance the priorities of our partner organizations. The fourth layer of the strategic plan is about the people. In order to accomplish our goals, we plan and we need to empower our people. Empowering people looks like upgrading our recruitment and induction processes to enable RPS to attract and retain talented staff, especially those in hard-to-fill positions and backgrounds that are underrepresented in our schools. Empowering people also looks like developing our school leaders. We need to equip them, we need to equip our current and future administrators with the knowledge, skills, and habits that they will need to successfully guide us through this work. There's no empowering people without thinking about the youth. We will uplift youth voice and youth leadership so that students' concerns can be heard and addressed, and so that young people can contribute to their schools and also our great community. The last path to empowering people is through building post-secondary and career pathways. We want to do this so that all students can develop a vision for life after high school and take the steps to realize that vision as they progress through Rochester Public Schools. The final and base layer of our strategic plan calls for us to better align and shift some of our systems. This means revising some of our funding formulas so that our schools can have greater flexibility with allocating staff time and other resources so that they can meet the needs of their students. We will reinvent our school improvement process to continually improve student outcomes. Our school board will consistently review our policies for equity and make the necessary changes that are needed to ensure that our students from marginalized communities have the opportunity and support needed to thrive in our schools. We also need to revise our transportation routes to increase service to early childhood programming and to enable elementary schools to begin at times and optimize their learning for the younger students while preserving the benefits that later starter times represent for our older students. And lastly, we need to increase our philanthropic support to advance implementation of our strategic plan and promote innovation across the district. So these are the things that the staff of almost 2,000 employees are committed to doing for our students and for our families of Rochester. But remember, we cannot do this alone. We will need all of you to make this happen. We need you to volunteer in our schools. We need your companies to mentor our young students. We need you to help them acquire the knowledge and skills so that they can serve as inspiration as they begin to solve the problems of Rochester and also for our world. We will also need your financial support, as we know that there's a cost to implementing and sustaining such goals. So in closing, I ask if you will join us as we begin transforming Rochester Public Schools into the district of choice for all the families across southern Minnesota. We are going to restore the hope and pride and normalcy for our students. So there's only one right answer to that question. The answer is yes. Say yes to RPS. Thank you for your time today.
That was great. So you've heard from all three of the governmental agencies, I am so appreciative to see so many of our partners here in this room. I'd hoped to keep it in an hour, but I think we all have a lot to share. We're all proud of our institutions, and we have you here, and we wanted to share it with you. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being partners to each and every one of our governmental agencies and to some that haven't spoken. But have a wonderful day, and let's make 2023 the best ever. Thanks, everyone.